I, 28F, am going through a really tough time with my husband Anthony, 30M, and his family. We've been married for 5 years and have a 2-year-old daughter, Amy. Recently, Anthony's younger sister Julia, 18F, graduated high school and got accepted into a prestigious university. Anthony's parents wanted to throw her a big celebration party, and that's where all our problems started. Let me give you some backstory. Anthony and I met during our sophomore year of college. We were both working at the campus bookstore to help pay for our tuition. I remember the first time I saw him, he was struggling to carry a stack of textbooks that was taller than him, and he had this determined look on his face. I offered to help, and we ended up talking for hours after our shift ended. We came from similar backgrounds, both from middle-class families where money was always a bit tight. My dad was a high school teacher, and my mom worked part-time at a local bakery. Anthony's dad owned a small plumbing business, and his mom was a nurse. We both grew up understanding the value of hard work and saving money. Throughout college, Anthony and I supported each other. We'd have study dates in the library, sharing a single cup of coffee between us because we couldn't afford to. We'd splurge on date nights by buying a $5 pizza and eating it on the roof of my apartment building, watching the stars. Those were some of the happiest times of my life, even though we had nothing. After graduation, things were tough. Anthony got a job as a junior account manager at a small firm, and I started as an intern at a marketing agency. We moved into a tiny studio apartment that barely fit our bed and a small table. The kitchen was so small we could barely open the refrigerator door without hitting the opposite wall. But it was ours, and we were proud of it. For the first few years of our marriage, we lived paycheck to paycheck. We drove old cars that broke down constantly, and our idea of a fancy dinner was when we could afford to add guacamole to our Chipotle burritos. But we were happy. We had each other, and we were building our life together. Things started to look up last year. Anthony had been working incredibly hard, often staying late at the office and taking on extra projects. His dedication paid off when he got a big promotion to senior account manager. Around the same time, I landed a job as a marketing coordinator at a growing tech startup. Suddenly, our financial situation improved dramatically. We were finally able to buy our first home, a modest 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood with good schools. It wasn't anything fancy, but to us, it felt like a mansion. We spent weeks painting and fixing it up, making it our own. The day we moved in, Anthony carried me over the threshold, just like he did when we first got married. That night, as we sat on our new porch swing, watching the sunset, we felt like we had finally made it. With our new financial stability, we started thinking about the future. We opened a savings account for Amy's education. We remembered how hard it was for us to pay for college, and we were determined to give our daughter a better start. Every month, we put aside a portion of our salaries into this account, even if it meant cutting back on other things. That brings us to the current situation. Julia, Anthony's younger sister, just graduated high school. She's always been the baby of the family, doted on by their parents. Don't get me wrong, Julia's a sweet girl, and she's worked hard in school. She got accepted into an Ivy League university, which is a big deal for the family. Anthony's parents were over the moon and immediately started planning a huge graduation party for her. Last Sunday, Anthony's parents invited us over for dinner. They were excited, talking nonstop about Julia's achievements and the party they were planning. That's when they dropped the bomb. They wanted us to contribute $2,000 towards the party expenses. I nearly choked on my drink when I heard the amount. Anthony's mom went on to explain their grand plans, renting out the ballroom at the fanciest hotel in town, hiring a professional DJ, getting gourmet catering, the works. She talked about it like it was the most natural thing in the world for us to contribute such a large amount. Anthony and I exchanged looks across the table. We had just bought our house a few months ago, and our savings had taken a hit. Plus, we were focused on building up Amy's college fund. $2,000 was a lot of money for us, especially for a one-night party. I tried to explain our situation gently. We're so proud of Julia, I said, but $2,000 is a bit out of our budget right now. We've just bought the house, and we're trying to save for Amy's future. Maybe we could contribute in other ways? I could help with the decorations or... But before I could finish, Anthony's mom cut me off. Her face had turned cold. I thought you two were doing well now, she said. You have that big house and those fancy jobs. Don't you want your sister-in-law to have a special day? You're part of this family too, you know. Anthony's dad chimed in, his voice disapproving. When we were your age, we always put family first. We would have done anything for our siblings. I'm disappointed you can't do the same. Their words stung. Anthony and I had always been there for his family, just in ways we could afford. We babysit Julia and their younger brother Tom whenever their parents need a break. We helped Anthony's dad with his business taxes last year when he was struggling to figure them out. We might not have much money, but we give our time and effort freely. The rest of the dinner was tense and awkward. Anthony was quiet, pushing food around his plate. I could see the conflict on his face, torn between his parents' expectations and our financial reality. On the drive home, Anthony finally spoke up. Maybe we could find a way to contribute, he said hesitantly. We could cut back on some things for a few months. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Anthony, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, we've worked so hard to get where we are. We have responsibilities now, a mortgage, bills, and Amy to think about. We can't just throw $2,000 at a party, Anthony sighed heavily. I know, but it's for Julia. She's worked so hard, and it would mean a lot to my parents. That's when I realized this wasn't just about the money. It was about Anthony's relationship with his family, about long-standing dynamics that ran deeper than I had realized. The situation got even worse the next day. Julia called Anthony, crying. Apparently, their parents had told her about our reluctance to contribute. She accused us of being jealous of her success and trying to ruin her party. She said she always knew we didn't really consider her family. Anthony was devastated after the call. He's always been protective of Julia, and hearing her so upset shook him. He started second-guessing our decision, saying maybe we were being too selfish. Now, I feel stuck. On one hand, I understand wanting to celebrate Julia's achievements. Getting into an Ivy League school is a big deal, and she deserves to be recognized for her hard work. Plus, I hate seeing Anthony torn between his birth family and our little family. But on the other hand, $2,000 is a lot of money for us. We're not struggling anymore, but we're not rolling in cash either. That $2,000 could go towards Amy's future, or towards home repairs, or into our emergency fund. It feels irresponsible to spend so much on a one-night party. Anthony's family makes us feel like we're bad people for not contributing, but I don't think it's fair to expect us to spend so much. They don't seem to understand or respect our financial situation and priorities. The whole situation has caused a lot of tension between Anthony and me. He feels guilty and is seriously considering taking money out of our savings to give to his parents. I'm strongly against this idea. We worked hard for that money, and it's meant for our daughter's future. But Anthony says I'm being selfish and not considering his family's feelings. I don't know what to do. Am I wrong for not wanting to contribute to the party? How can I make Anthony's family understand our position without causing more drama? And most importantly, how can I get Anthony to see that we need to prioritize our own family's financial security? I love Anthony, and I want him to have a good relationship with his family. But I also feel like we need to stand firm in our decision and set boundaries. I'm worried that if we give in this time, it will set a precedent for future demands. This whole situation has me questioning a lot of things. Are Anthony and I on the same page about our financial goals? How do we balance our responsibilities to our daughter with Anthony's desire to please his family? And how do we navigate these complex family dynamics without damaging relationships? I could really use some advice. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? And how can we move forward from here as a united front? Update 1: It's been a week since my last post, and I wish I had better news to share. Things have only gotten worse, and I'm feeling more lost and frustrated than ever. Anthony and I had a huge fight about the party situation. It started when I came home from work early one day and found Anthony on the phone with his mom. He was telling her that we would find a way to contribute the full $2,000. I was shocked. We hadn't agreed to this, and we certainly couldn't afford it. When he got off the phone, I confronted him. He admitted that he had been feeling guilty and pressured by his family. He said he couldn't stand the thought of disappointing them or ruining Julia's big day. We argued for hours. I tried to remind him of our financial goals and responsibilities, but he kept insisting that family should come first. The next day, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. Anthony had taken $1,000 from our savings account without telling me. He had already given it to his parents for Julia's party. When I confronted him about it, he got defensive. He said he was tired of me controlling all our money and that he had a right to spend it how he wanted. I was furious. This wasn't just about the money, it was about trust. We had always made financial decisions together, and now he had gone behind my back. I felt betrayed and scared. If he could do this once, what was to stop him from doing it again? The party happened last weekend, and it was as extravagant as Anthony's parents had planned. They had rented out the grand ballroom of the fanciest hotel in town. There was a red carpet at the entrance, complete with a professional photographer taking pictures of guests as they arrived. They had even managed to invite some local celebrities, a news anchor and a former NFL player who had graduated from Julia's new university. Julia looked beautiful in an expensive designer dress that must have cost more than our monthly mortgage payment. She was glowing with happiness, surrounded by her friends and admirers. Part of me was happy for her, but I couldn't help feeling a twinge of resentment. All I could think about was the money that had gone into this one-night event. Anthony and I attended, but the atmosphere was tense. His parents kept making passive-aggressive comments about how some people couldn't be bothered to fully contribute to their sister's special day. At one point, Anthony's mom loudly told another guest how disappointing it was that certain family members didn't value Julia's achievements as much as they should. Julia barely spoke to us throughout the event. When she did look our way, it was with cold, accusatory glances. It was clear that she blamed us for nearly ruining her party. I felt like we were outsiders at a family event, despite having contributed a significant amount of money. The worst part came during the speeches. Anthony's dad got up and gave a long, emotional talk about how proud they were of Julia and how the whole family had come together to make this day possible. He specifically thanked several relatives for their generous contributions, pointedly leaving us out. The omission was obvious, and I could feel people glancing our way. I felt humiliated and angry. Anthony, on the other hand, looked guilty and uncomfortable. Throughout the event, he kept trying to appease his family. He laughed too loudly at their jokes, agreed with everything they said, and kept trying to insert himself into conversations where he clearly wasn't wanted. It was like he was a different person around them, eager to please and desperate for approval. When we got home, I told Anthony how hurt I was by his family's behavior and his failure to stand up for us. He got defensive and said I was overreacting. He insisted that family events like this were important, and that we should have found a way to contribute the full amount without complaint. I reminded him that we had our own family to think about, him, me, and Amy. I asked him why his sister's party was more important than our daughter's future. He didn't have a good answer but accused me of trying to drive a wedge between him and his family. The next day, I discovered that Anthony had been hiding something else from me. While going through our mail, I found a statement for a credit card I didn't recognize. Anthony had applied for a new credit card without telling me and had maxed it out to cover the rest of the money for Julia's party. When I confronted him about it, he broke down. He admitted that he felt incredibly pressured by his family and didn't know how to say no to them. He said he was afraid of disappointing them and losing their love and approval. It was a side of Anthony I had never seen before, and it scared me. I'm at a loss. I feel like I can't trust Anthony anymore. He's risked our financial stability and our daughter's future to please his family. How can we move forward from this? Is there any way to salvage our relationship and get Anthony to prioritize our family? I'm also worried about the long-term implications of this situation. Anthony's family now seems to think they can make financial demands of us whenever they want. How do we set boundaries without causing more family drama? I love Anthony, and I want our marriage to work. But I also need to protect myself and Amy. I'm considering separating our finances, but I'm afraid that will only drive a bigger wedge between us. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? And how can I get Anthony to understand the seriousness of what he's done? Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and I've had to make some difficult decisions. After discovering Anthony's secret credit card debt, I realized I needed to take steps to protect myself and Amy financially. I spent a lot of time thinking about my options. I love Anthony, and I want our marriage to work, but I can't ignore the breach of trust and the potential consequences of his actions. After a lot of soul-searching and a consultation with a lawyer friend, I decided to separate our finances. I opened a new bank account in my name only and started depositing my paychecks there. I also took half of our savings and put it in a separate account for Amy's future. It broke my heart to do this, but I kept thinking about how hard we had worked for that money and how it was meant to secure our daughter's future. When Anthony found out what I had done, he was furious. He accused me of not trusting him and said I was overreacting to a one-time mistake. But it wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was a pattern of behavior that showed me Anthony's priorities weren't aligned with mine. The situation with Anthony's family has only gotten worse. They've started planning a big family vacation to celebrate Julia starting college. They expect us to contribute a significant amount towards renting a beach house. Anthony seems eager to please them, regardless of our own financial situation or the fact that we can't really afford a lavish vacation right now. I've tried repeatedly to talk to Anthony about setting boundaries with his family, but he refuses to listen. He says I'm being selfish and that family should always come first. But I feel like he's forgetting that Amy and I are his family too. It's like he's stuck in this mindset of being the obedient son, even though he's a grown man with his own family now. The situation came to a head last week when Anthony's parents showed up at our house unannounced. They had come to talk some sense into me. For hours, they lectured me about family values and accused me of trying to come between Anthony and his family. They brought up how they had always welcomed me into their family, conveniently forgetting all the times they had made me feel like an outsider, and how ungrateful I was being now. What hurt the most was that Anthony just sat there silently throughout this entire ordeal. He didn't defend me or our decisions. He just stared at the floor, occasionally nodding along with his parents. It was like I was alone against his entire family. After they left, I told Anthony I couldn't continue living like this. Our marriage was suffering, and the constant stress was affecting my health and my ability to be a good mother to Amy. I suggested we try couples counseling to work on our issues, but he refused. He said there was nothing wrong with how he and his family behaved, and that I was the one with the problem. That's when I realized that Anthony's loyalty to his family of origin is stronger than his commitment to me and Amy. It's a painful realization, but I know I need to do what's best for my daughter and myself. I'm now seriously considering divorce. The thought terrifies me. I never imagined I'd be a single mom at 28. I'm scared of being alone, of the financial struggles, of how this will affect Amy. But I'm more scared of what will happen if I stay in this situation. Every day, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells in my own home. Anthony and I barely talk anymore, except to argue about money or his family. I've noticed that Amy has become quieter and clingier, clearly picking up on the tension between us. It breaks my heart to see how our issues are affecting her. I've started looking into our options. I've been secretly meeting with a divorce lawyer to understand what the process would look like. She's helped me understand my rights and what I need to do to protect myself and Amy financially. It feels surreal to be having these conversations, but I know I need to be prepared. I've also been reaching out to old friends, trying to rebuild my support network. I realize how isolated I've become in the past few years, focusing all my energy on my marriage and motherhood. It's been nice to reconnect with people who knew me before I was Anthony's wife or Amy's mom. I could use some advice on how to proceed. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? And how can I protect Amy through all of this? I'm especially worried about co-parenting with Anthony if we do get divorced. How do I shield her from his family's drama? Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and a lot has changed. After much thought and several attempts at discussing our issues, I decided to file for divorce from Anthony. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but I knew it was necessary for my own well-being and for Amy's future. When I told Anthony about my decision, he was shocked. Despite all our arguments and the tension between us, he hadn't taken my concerns seriously. He thought I would eventually get over it and things would go back to normal. He tried to convince me to stay, promising he would change and stand up to his family. But after months of broken promises, I couldn't trust his words anymore. The divorce process has been difficult, to say the least. Anthony's family has been spreading rumors about me in our social circle. They're saying I'm cold-hearted, greedy, and that I never really loved Anthony. It hurts to hear these things, especially from people who have known me for years. What's worse is that they've been trying to convince Anthony to seek full custody of Amy. They claim I'm an unfit mother because I don't prioritize family. It's absurd and infuriating. Everything I've done has been to protect and provide for Amy. Fortunately, my lawyer has been incredibly helpful. We've documented all financial issues, including Anthony's secret credit card debt and the money he took from our savings. This has helped us build a strong case for why I should have primary custody of Amy. Despite the challenges, I'm starting to feel more confident in my decision. I've reconnected with old friends who have been incredibly supportive. My college roommate, Sarah, has been especially amazing. She's been through a divorce herself and has become my rock through this process. I've also started seeing a therapist to work through my emotions and learn how to co-parent effectively with Anthony. It's been helpful to have a neutral party to talk to, someone who can give me strategies for dealing with Anthony and his family. Amy is adjusting to the new situation better than I expected. We've kept her routine as stable as possible, and I make sure she has regular video calls with Anthony when she's with me. It's not easy, but I know this is better than exposing her to constant family tension and financial instability. As for me, I'm focusing on building a stable and happy life for Amy and myself. I've taken on some freelance marketing work to boost our income, and I'm looking into going back to school part-time to get my MBA. It's scary starting over at 28, but I'm also excited about the possibilities ahead. Anthony and I are still working out the details of our divorce settlement and custody arrangement. It's been tense, but we're both trying to put Amy's needs first. I hope that in time, we can develop a respectful co-parenting relationship. I'm sharing this final update to thank everyone who offered advice and support through this difficult time. To anyone in a similar situation, remember that you deserve respect and financial security. It's okay to prioritize yourself and your children. Family is important, but not at the cost of your own well-being and future.